It's been 4 years since we've seen definitive proof that all of this beard growing, all of this scraggliness, all of this desperation that we felt in crypto land will be rewarded with astronomical, life-changing gains in the form of roof-destroying, house-shaking, potentially even marriage-disrupting levels of green candles coming in to crypto. Now, I know for sure how hard we've all been waiting for this, and to be honest, this cycle has been absolutely brutal. But what we're going to be going over right now is the definitive proof that we are looking at a great setup for Q4, not just for Bitcoin, but for the rotation into other assets, our beloved altcoins, and what we all know and love as alt season. And to be clear, we have not gotten this alt season yet. Nothing we've experienced since 2021 has even remotely resembled alt season. And that's why what we're going to be looking at today is actually very, very important. It's super important. I know all the soggy comments in the comment section, all the crying on the timeline, all of that negativity is about to get flipped on its head as soon as we start seeing our alts 2, 5, 10x and more. Everyone's going to forget about all of that. And the only question that you need to be answering right now is how you're planning to deal with it, because I believe that it is more likely that we see an alt season than not. And it's all based on the data I'm going to be going over with you right now. So if you're excited, you know what to do. Destroy that like button, and Chris, show the people a picture of a cute baby giraffe. Reward them for all their thumbing up of that like button. Amazing. So first and foremost, let's talk about the macro. We started 2025 with a Trump talking about cutting the budget, cutting the deficit, no longer kicking the can down the road to future generations, but drawing a hard line here to rein in an out of control spending American economy. No. That is no longer the Trump we have in office, because according to Mr. Donnie T, we are now going to grow ourselves out of debt. This is what we have always said is the only way out. Those of us who have been studying this macro debt regime that we've been in since inflation exploded in 2021 have been very aware that the only way you fix this is not by somehow reining in the debt, cutting spending, and having everything just cool off. That's how you would do this if you were a soccer mom with 3 kids and you were deciding, hey, look, we're not just going to go shopping for the new Jordans every week. I don't think Jordan makes soccer cleats, but if they did, you know what I mean? You're not going to get the nice cleats. We're going to the sale rack. We're going to go to Costco. We're going to buy in bulk. We're going to cut back. We're going to refill the soap with a little bit of water. No, we're not doing any of these austerity measures in America. We're just going to grow ourselves out, because that's what politicians get paid to do. They get elected. They get paid to give out free stuff. That's the modern America. Welcome to 2025. This is how it works. We knew this was how it was going to go, but now we're seeing it validated on the highest level. And pretty much you can translate this, as Fabital says very aptly below, into printing money. Money printing. Yes, we are going to print money to fix this. That is the only solution that's ever been on the table. And now you're seeing it voiced at the top level. So regardless of whatever happens here in the next few weeks, which is of course this Q4 magic we're all excited about, it's important to realize that we are in a structural budget deficit that will be persistent, and the only way out of this is to grow our way out, which is another way of saying that things will just deflate and will grow and time will pass and hopefully wages rise, hopefully things catch up. But in the end, the only way to make this debt to GDP ratio go down is if the GDP goes way up. The debt ain't going down, right? The debt ain't going down. The GDP's just got to go way up. So that's what this means to grow yourself out. And usually it entails a whole lot of devaluation of the dollar and money printing. So Bitcoin will go up in value. Crypto will go up in value, but that dollar won't buy more. It'll buy a lot less. So it's just important. This is what we're doing. And it's now being voiced at the highest level from the supposedly conservative, lower spending party. So that's where we're at right now, is that the Republicans have taken, is that the supposed responsible party, the Republican Party, is the grow yourself out party. We know how this ends. This ends with massive, massive devaluation of the dollar. We also see him projecting a rosy outlook for next year and downplaying weak economic data. Again, all of these things, they just work together, showing what are they going to do? They're going to print, they're going to stimulate, they're going to try to bring good news and grow the economy through stimulus, through devaluation of the dollar. So that's part one. We now have the government just fully abandoning any kind of rational, reasonable attempt to control spending. Forget about that. Don't control yourself. Just spend, and we will grow. We will grow out. We won't have to change our ways, right? This is like the soccer mom saying, hey, no. We're not going to cut back and spend less money just because we ran up on our credit card debt. We're just going to make more money next month. We're just going to make more money next month. Sounds great, right? Sounds great. Speaking of other things that sound great, this is the way the 8-year trend line looks on Bitcoin. We've actually broken this 8-year trend line that has been in place since the high of 2018. And you can see it connects the high to high to high. It even hit our 2024 high of November. And then what you've seen is we've finally broken through it. And now we're back testing this support line. And this means that we can go a whole lot more parabolically higher. Shout out to Quentin over here for the chart. Now, that might seem well and good, but I also want to point out one of the reasons why it hasn't quite felt like this explosive bull run. And that's partly, well, in large part, due to the fact that the dollar has just been so weak. As you can see here, the dollar has just been down only really since the start of the Trump presidency here in January. It's just been plummeting, and the dollar is down significantly. It's down about, what is this, 12%? It's a huge haircut on the dollar. Now, a better chart to look at here for an understanding of how Bitcoin is doing overall might be the Bitcoin EUR chart. Because you can see here, we did not have this explosive breakout that happened in the middle of the summer like we did on the USD chart. We can see that it's actually been flat here on the Euro chart since Trump took office in the beginning of the year. Really, it's been flat since that Q4 rally in 2024. So you can see here that the Euro chart is showing its first real breakout since the sort of collapse after the Trump trade. And if you go back in time, you can see that we've barely really had a run since the 2017 high or the 2021 high here. We're only up on the Euro chart about not even a 2x, right? So you can see here, whereas Bitcoin priced against other currencies is just starting to really make its big move now. Whereas you can see the December high from 2024 is all the way back here, and we're all the way up here on the USD charts. And that just reflects the weakness of the dollar. But one thing I wanted to point out in addition to all that is that the actual time that Bitcoin is taking to consolidate here is significantly shorter each time. You can see that this is 35 bars. This is the weekly chart. You can see the first consolidation in 2024, starting from when the ETF was listed. You can see the ETF pump and then consolidation from early in 2024. You can see that this lasted from March all the way into November of 2024. A huge punishing 35-week consolidation. Then we had another move up. This was the Trump pump, and we had a 24-bar consolidation, and we broke that, and we're in about, since the high here of, what was this, July 7th, we've been in a 12-week consolidation. So you can see 35, 24, 12, you can see it's about 12 weeks shorter or so each time. This is a huge change. And you can see how the shorter these consolidations go means that we're going to start seeing price action go up, consolidate less, and you can see a full parabola start to take place. Obviously, it doesn't quite look like a parabola right now. It's still kind of linear. But if these consolidations keep shortening like this, you're starting to see even more evidence that this Bitcoin cycle is starting to get a little bit more late cycle. It's starting to feel a bit more frothy. It's starting to feel a bit faster. And that's what we've wanted, because ever since we got listed on the stock market, it's been a bit boring around here. Let me tell you that much. Again, it's been more fun on YouTube. We all know it's been more fun in crypto YouTube. It's been more fun in crypto in general. But this is what brings me to the next part here, which is if you're a four-year cycler, if you're an astrologist, then October 6th is when this should end, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow, as of recording, it's probably today if you're watching this, because I'll have put this up tomorrow. This is the cycle all-time high. Do you believe that October 6th is the cycle high? Because if after October 6th, if Bitcoin goes anywhere up here, then the cycle's broken. I mean, you have to acknowledge that this, at least, this post from the all-time low of 2015 to the all-time high of 2017 was 1,064 days. From the all-time low of 2018 to 2021, it was 1,064 days. So if from the all-time low, I believe in 2022, to the all-time high here in 2025 is 1,064 days, that would mean that tomorrow it's over. It's pack it up, go home. Forget about the crypto stuff. You got to sell everything. And according to Wiz here, you got to apply to McDonald's. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't believe it. It doesn't feel that way. And if we see that it continues into late October, into November, maybe into December, but I think obviously if it continues into 2026, we can say, okay, something's different here. Something's fundamentally different. Now, as always, make sure to check out our buddies Blowfin. And if you sign up with the link in the description, you can be entered to win $1,000 in super token. Just comment your UID in the comment section below. You can go short and long on any variety of cryptocurrencies. You pick your favorite and you can actually bet on it with leverage. Now, of course, if you think this is another all-time high breakout like we've seen in the past, you know, sometimes when Bitcoin breaks its all-time highs, it goes on these big old runs. If that's going to happen again in Q4, if we're right about Bitcoin lining up and doing all these things, you can go ahead and long Bitcoin with a bit of leverage, get more out of your gains. Of course, it comes with more risk. But again, shout out to Blowfin. If you want to win some super, make sure to comment your UID in the comment section below. And shout out to them for partnering with the channel. Now, again, I've said this many times, I will be selling coins into the Q4 parabola. I will be selling coins as things get crazy into Q4 because that's the smart thing to do. But I can't help but feel that this time is different. There's a lot of signs that this is different. There are a lot of them. But that's not the point of today's episode. The point of today's episode is that we are seeing signals that there is a real Q4 year after the halving magic loading, and that there will be a parabola for altcoins. So we've seen that the economy is going to be running hot. We've seen that the weakness in the dollar has actually skewed the Bitcoin chart a bit. And then actually the euro is showing the first real Bitcoin breakout the year after the halving. That's happened the entirety of 2025. So you're seeing the global Bitcoin breakout is still lagging a bit to the dollar. We've seen that the Bitcoin consolidations are getting shorter and shorter, meaning that a parabola is starting to form here. And you can see that for the first time, we're really seeing that Bitcoin dominance is holding well under this blue line, this 50-week moving average. We can see that the prior alt seasons we saw at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, and the end of 2024, and Bitcoin dominance stayed well above this blue line. It did not break its trend. Now we can see, will Bitcoin dominance somehow reclaim this blue line? If it does, then that could extend this Bitcoin run quite a bit, and timing could change. That could mean that Bitcoin comes all the way up here and it takes maybe into 2026 for alts to go crazy. But I believe that this blue line probably has been crossed for this cycle, and that we will see Bitcoin maybe come up here and challenge it, but overall trend down, allowing for altcoins to truly fly. Now I know, Elliot, why are you talking about Bitcoin dominance? You've been wrong about alt season. You said alt season a bunch of times. It wasn't right. I'll tell you this much. I'm still holding all those altcoins. I'm still holding them because I believe they're going to go up. If I didn't believe they were going to go up ever, why would I be holding them? I'm not stupid. All right. I'm not crazy. I'm not insane. I just believe that the alternative cryptocurrency coin season hasn't happened yet. It's my belief. But here's a little bit of data to back up that belief, because we all like data, don't we? So proof that alt season is coming now. What you see here is the iShares Russell 2000 ETF. I brought up this chart a while ago. It's called IWM. If you don't know what IWM is, this is effectively a bunch of small cap stocks. You could think of these as alts on the stock market, alternative stocks, right? Because these are not your Mag 7s. These are not your Googles and your Teslas. These are the small caps, the 2000 ETF, meaning that the smaller altcoins on the stock market, the smaller alternative stocks here, the small caps as they would call them on Wall Street, are breaking out here for the first time since, no, not 2021. They're breaking out for the first time since 2020. And that's what makes this whole 5-year cycle thing even more compelling. Now, I had this chart marked up before. You can see 2 attempts to break. Then we actually see a real explosive spring, and we get a breakout on the small cap stocks. What's crazy is that this actually happened in November of 2020. This wasn't a 2021 gigabull thing like we saw in crypto. This was actually the precursor to crypto's alt season. If we look at what cryptos were doing, like for example, let's bring up Solana. So you can see where Solana was during this period in 2020. You're going to have your mind a little bit blown, because guess what? Solana in November of 2020 was so low. It was so red, you couldn't even see it. Look at how much I'm having to zoom in here. And yes, this is market cap. I brought up the Solana market cap. That doesn't matter. You can see Solana in November of 2020 was here. This is where Solana was. While the RWM was going crazy, Solana looked like this. So I found a Solana chart that goes all the way back here to November 2020. And what you can see here is that Solana, yes, it had a little bit of action here in DeFi summer, but then it really cooled off. And here's where we were in November of 2020. This is what Solana looked like. It was about, what was this? 61% down from the highs. This is as the IWM was right. And I'm just going to do another little arrow here. This is as the IWM was right here, right? And it was going vertical. Solana was looking like this, right? Like this. And by the way, you can't say Solana wasn't a hot altcoin. It was. It had just gone crazy. Look at this. Solana had already gone up 10x during DeFi summer. Look at that. Okay. So you can't tell me that it wasn't a hot altcoin or any of that stuff, right? But Solana, after the IWM went crazy, went from $1 to, you can't even see it down there. It literally looks like a flat line. It went up to $270. Of course, this isn't typical. We're not expecting for every coin to do what Solana did. But what I'm saying is the historical parallels are that we had not yet had an alt season. We had a DeFi summer where people were getting all crazy trading little DeFi Ponzi's, but there wasn't this widespread liquidity injection into cryptocurrency, altcoins, majors, all the stuff that had narrative. That wasn't happening yet. That happened all after the IWM went crazy, which is why this is not just a small signal. In my opinion, this is not noise. Now, let me give you another reason why. Think about what's been so different about this particular crypto cycle. It's that we've had institutions. Wall Street has been the main buyer of Bitcoin and crypto. And the big reason why we haven't seen the influx of capital into altcoins is that those buyers have been in safety mode. They're mostly just buying the Mag 7, the top 7 stocks in the world, and Bitcoin. And there's been very little liquidity that's flown into altcoins, except for the meme coin seasons on Solana. But I would argue that the meme coin seasons altcoins were actually an expression of the fact that very little real liquidity was actually entering crypto. So people started playing meme games because you don't really need any belief or adoption or anything for memes. It's just a meme, right? You don't need anything to be fulfilled. That actually expresses a nihilistic negative view of the industry as opposed to what we want, which is people pouring money into the tech that is going to revolutionize the world. But things have all changed due to regulation and a friendly government, and finally a liquidity flow that is pushing capital further out the risk curve as the Fed finally cuts rates. The rates were just too high. Capital was being controlled too tightly, and it was a risk-off climate for investing. And now we're changing that now that rates are coming down and capital will move out the risk curve. You take that in tandem with the regulations from the Trump administration, the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, the Market Structure Bill, and all the other stuff coming, the stablecoin legislation, the SEC comments, the anti-CBDC bill. Yes, all of our dreams are coming true, which is why I've declared that we are now entering into the era of the true believer. We know that capital is moving out the risk curve. And what's really interesting is that this crypto community is, in my opinion, going to be totally offsides because they're so unwilling to hold altcoins, to believe in them based on, obviously very validly, how badly the last few years have gone for alts. So essentially, people forget. When you joined crypto, you wanted to buy a coin, watch it grow and grow as it eats the world. You wanted to buy one thing and get rich. You weren't in here to play these fast rotations, to stay glued to your Discord for 37 hours a day, to watch all your peers get married and have lives while you're sitting there refreshing Telegram. No, nobody wanted to do that. That's not why we got into this industry. No, we wanted to buy one fucking coin and see it go to the moon. That's it. That's it. You wanted to be early to a mega trend. And my news to you, my news flash, is that you are. And that's something that's been really tough for people to digest. That's why I've kept building. I mean, think of how crazy it is for me to have a team working on a DEX on DeFi in 2024, right? This was under Joseph R. Biden, one of the most anti-crypto politicians, presidents, the most anti-crypto president that we'll ever see in our lifetimes, because we've already crossed that. This is done. We're beyond it. You can't go back in time now. So that was the worst that this industry will ever be. It was draconian. And yet, it seemed obvious to me that DeFi is the future of the industry. So that's what we built. We built it regardless of the fact that we weren't sure the way that things would pan out. And the success has been explosive. Black Hole is crazy. And what's going on with Black Hole, all the stuff coming next, we will talk more about that. But I just wanted to be clear. This is what we wanted. We got in here to believe in something, to buy something, to be early. And the years of fake breakouts, FUD, government persecution, whale manipulation, and relentless rug pulls have made you forget why you came here. You now have the chance to front run the institutional adoption of crypto at the highest level. Majors, AI bangers, DeFi leaders, cult communities. I believe this is the period that we've waited so long for. Don't waste it. Duck said something similar. The market has changed in the last couple of years. Back in the day, hyperactive trade management was a good way to gain an edge. Now it feels like the opposite is true. Conviction is much more important as the market chops highly active traders to death. This is once again the manipulation in the charts. They know that most of the people still trading are just pretty much pro tail. They're not retail. They're pro traders that are just not maybe part of shops. And so as key levels get broken, everybody dumps, and then those key levels get resumed, and it's just all of these manipulations. So it's easier just to buy stuff and kind of forget about it and wait for things to happen. And even though that's been honestly the right way to approach this particular market cycle, people who say that get criticized because coins are down, they're not up. You know, you're not going to end up in crypto being up all the time. You have to be willing to stomach months or sometimes years of being down on your investment before you're proven right. And that's what this cycle has been. It's been one step forward, two steps back, but this is the time. And we're seeing all of the signs that finally the markets are ready to bless us with an alt season and a Q4 mega pump. With that said, the point of today's episode isn't to list all the coins. I'll be coming out with a coin category video, but majors, your ETH, BNB, Sol, Hype, Ton, these kind of major assets. Obviously Ton is the least, I guess relevant of those, but ETH, BNB, Sol, Hype, these are your majors in my opinion. They will do very, very well. And we have not yet seen true, passionate FOMO from Wall Street around these. And with the digital asset treasuries that are existing for all of these assets, they will start to get the limelight once this risk curve gets rotated out. I mean, do you guys remember what Polygon did last cycle? Do you guys remember this? Because a lot of people don't, okay? This is what happened. You can't see the price history here, but essentially Polygon did this for years. It went like this for years, and they were crushing it. They had so many news, so many updates. It was the number one L2 scaling solution for Ethereum. And then it goes from a few cents, and I tell this story all the time, it goes from about a penny. Actually, this isn't even accurate. It goes all the way down from about a penny all the way up to $3. So 300x. It's actually much more accurate to put this line down here, because it had this jump up before this even starts. But my point is, that was looked at as a pretty big asset, not as much return because it's already kind of big. But then huge liquidity flowed into crypto, and this thing went 300x. Man, I see that happening for some of these bigger coins even. I can see that happening for some of these majors. Like Hype could reprice up a ton. ETH is obviously huge. Sol is not going to go 100x, but could Sol go 5x? Yeah, I think Sol could hit $1,000. I think Sol could hit $800, which was my original target, $800. I think DEXs and DeFi are going to get a massive, massive pump because they're finally getting the full regulatory green light. And we haven't seen that for on-chain products that produce revenue. This is huge. Wall Street's going to eat this up. The leaders are going to get so far ahead by getting the bid from Wall Street. It's going to be crazy. And if you know, some actual assets in DeFi function and attract even more liquidity, fees, and attention when their tokens go up. Things like Black Hole, right? So this could be huge for DeFi, and it could cement an insurmountable lead for some of these DeFi coins where they might just grow for 5-10 years from now. Privacy is finally getting its moment. And this came in large part due to a tweet from Naval, who's obviously, if you know anything about Naval, he's one of the most beloved sort of characters on the internet and in tech. But he had this one tweet, and it said, Bitcoin is insurance against fiat. Zcash is insurance against Bitcoin. Zcash being a private version of Bitcoin, private cryptocurrency where you can't track transactions. You can see here, Mert says, the state printed money, so we bought Bitcoin. The state started surveilling money, so we bought Zcash. Get your darn eyes off my money. And Naval says, Satoshi himself can't use Bitcoin. This is, of course, a reference to the fact that if Satoshi ever touches any of his 21 million, or any of his 1 million Bitcoin rather, that it would pretty much crash Bitcoin significantly in that moment, because people would not want to know that 1 million Bitcoin could potentially be sold. Now, of course, we know Satoshi probably won't do that. Satoshi's probably dead, but regardless, Satoshi himself can't use Bitcoin. So Naval is shilling Zcash, right? Which, by the way, shout out to anyone who's been following the channel. We started talking about Zcash as a viable opportunity back around here. Let me get this corner overlay. We can see that the Zcash we started talking about back earlier this year as we started to see Monero take off. We said, hey, Zcash is actually a better version of Monero, and it's so dramatically undervalued compared to its all-time high. We can see that compared to the all-time high of, what was this? Oh gosh, that's crazy. No, that's not real. Anyway, compared to the real all-time high of about $300, actually the January 2018 high is actually the one to take. Compared to the $750 all-time high, you still have a 6x here. And again, privacy has been one of those hotly contested areas because we know the government doesn't like it. But under Trump, under a new administration that's more friendly to innovation and actually respects individual sovereignty, which is a fundamental right, your privacy is a right. I wonder if privacy will catch a bid. Again, Zcash, we bought a little bit of it, not a huge position, but we've been talking about it for the last few months, and it just exploded because of that Naval tweet. Now, of course, the real froth and the real FOMO that I know everybody's waiting for are these retail coins, the gaming, the AI, the memes. These are the ones that are going to sort of make the dreams come true because they're going to pump 10, 20, probably a lot more. The good ones in these categories should go up the most, right? This should be the most pump-tastic. And that's why we want them. That's why we're excited for them. We should see these retail coins pump in the not too distant future. It should happen. And that's where I think like these glory dreams are going to be made, is if the retail coins pump. Now, a lot of people say not gaming won't work. But I actually saw this tweet here by Jonah, who you can see Jonah Blake here tweeted, gaming will make a comeback here soon. NEET, N-E-E-T. It's a new nickname for the Gen Zers, I think. I think it's no employment, education, or training. I think that's what N-E-E-T means. Pop up the definition, Chris. Anyway, NEET coded activities, essentially people who have no jobs, who have no chance of getting a job, and no real desire to get a job, will go up. And he thinks that's gaming, live streaming, content creation, gambling, prediction markets, effectively the stuff you can do from your couch to make money. You know, the stuff that you see people talking about on YouTube all the time. Shout out to the YouTubers. But yeah, gaming, gambling, live streaming, content. I mean, obviously live streaming, content creation, gaming and gambling. I think these things are going to explode. What's crazy is the game Imposter is being developed by the Superverse Foundation. The original game that it was inspired by, Among Us, popped off during COVID. And it feels like we're coming back to this kind of COVID-like era where people are sitting at home, and it's by choice this time. They have chosen to ostracize themselves from the outside world, from work and all these things. And I wonder if in this upcoming condition, gambling and social gaming and all these things might actually have a new explosive second leg. So that's what I hope. I don't know if it's bullish for society. It doesn't feel bullish for society, but I think these things are happening. And that's why I think gaming is definitely going to have a future in crypto, as it's just going to target that audience of people that don't want to go out. They don't want to not be at home. They want to do this. They don't want a job. They don't even want, because they're neat. They're so neat. Anyway, I thought this was a nice take. And again, my thesis is that gaming and gaming culture and gaming crypto are going to absolutely thrive. Now, if you didn't know, Super was just listed on both of the top exchanges in Korea, and it has officially opened the Korean market, which is one of the #1 markets in the world for gaming and crypto. It is actually the highest target market in the world for what Super is doing. And so this is the beginning of a huge campaign for Super to bring its community, its tech, and its vision to that part of the world. Very excited about that. You'll be hearing a lot about that over the coming weeks and months. So shout out to Superverse and the Super fam. And I thought this was interesting. You have here Altcoin, which I've talked about a few times, but the founder is talking about how essentially they are, trying to build like the next Red Bull here in crypto. I think it's a really cool project. So I think this is just once again showing that Rect is a meme coin in a lot of ways, but they are tying it in with a real brand, in this case, a consumer packaged goods brand, and they're actually launching an energy drink, which we know is a big money market. So we all know what Pengu has done with the IP side of things with meme coin. What will OSF and the Rect team be able to do here with a consumer packaged good experience, an energy drink? I think it's very interesting. And again, you're seeing crypto is maturing. This is kind of the message of today, is that a lot of people believe, no, the point of crypto is to sell as quickly as you can and get out, because holding any of these coins is financial suicide. I think that was the lesson that we learned under the nihilism of the meme coin super cycle. That was the lesson that was taught under the fast rotation cycle that we've been in since the last bull market. But once there are structural accommodations for risk, my belief is this cycle, many altcoins will zoom to incredible new heights, but they won't have the same collapse as prior cycles because they will have become embedded more in the traditional financial system, and that the traditional financial system is really adopting crypto. Not all cryptos, maybe not your crypto, but the good ones, the ones that earn their way in, the coins that earn their spot in a real investor's portfolio on Wall Street over the course of this cycle. Those coins are worth believing in, and they are going to fulfill what we had always hoped crypto would do. Another comment by David here. 2025 feels to me like an industry-wide adjustment period where seemingly overnight crypto went from ostracized outsiders to accepted insiders. And the natives who have been around for years are too traumatized to believe this. This is what I've been trying to articulate throughout this episode. The people in this industry have been kicked too many times as little puppies to understand that they are going to get unlimited tendies, infinite snackaroos, tummy rubs for days, okay? They will never, ever hurt again, okay? This is what happened. We are now insiders. We are now at the center of the machine, crypto, okay? The new regulatory frameworks and legislation that has been passed and the institutional adoption that comes with it are being carved in stone. There is no going back. I think this will become increasingly obvious over the next 6 to 12 months, and absolutely none of it is priced in yet. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay? None of it's priced in. People see this as yet another cycle, but worse, that the altcoin cycle will be there, but shitty, that the pumps will happen, but whack, that you bought into stuff, but you need to sell it quick. Like all of the parts of crypto that we didn't like accelerated, and the parts we do like muted. That's what everybody thinks crypto is today, and I just don't buy it. We've been setting up, and it's taking longer because these structural changes are more significant. We will never get to relive this moment. Just like we won't be able to relive 2017 or 2013 or anything like that, we won't be able to relive this binary moment where crypto gets legalized, Wall Street starts bidding it, and it gets embedded more significantly into the fabric of the financial system. That is the moment that we are looking at. It's not priced in, and I am so bullish on what happens next. Of course, I could be wrong. Crypto's full of risk. You need to decide if you are willing to take that risk. Many coins can, and most will eventually go to zero. But the reason why I'm so hyped up right now is that I think the good coins have a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance here of going to the moon and staying there for the first time in this industry's history. And I think it's a combination of the money printing, of the regulation, of the change in policies, of money moving out the risk curve, Wall Street accepting coins and digital asset treasuries to be traded on the stock market, and of course, finally signs that we're actually going to see alt season take place. This is the combination of factors that we want. Not to mention that we also have protocols that have been chugging along, creating fees and revenue and leading their respective categories for many, many years. So the actual utility is there. The on-chain utility is there. The tech is there. And so my hope is that the people who have been here for 4 years, which I know is most of the people watching this, people who have been here for what feels like forever, don't end up missing it. I just hope you don't miss it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to click on this one popping up right now, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.